How do you propose to change this perception that the city is not transparent?
Gee, I have critics. Hard to believe. But at any rate, let me say this about the city budget and transparency. City budget's available to anybody. We have very limited staff. We should have our ordinance on, and we've looked at that and all the other things that go. But, you know, you look at our website, and we try to keep up with it as much as possible. But, you know, I would say the same thing back to, you know, does our school department, does the McCann School Department have their budget on there, which is far removed, in which the taxpayers of North Adams pay close to $900,000 annually? Those things aren't there either. But anybody who comes into City Hall can get a copy of the budget. Anybody who goes to the library can get a copy of the annual report from last year. And I think also, when you talk about transparency in government, let's take a look at it, because I've listened to this criticism for quite some time from Dick's campaign. Every year, every major project in the city of North Adams has a public hearing, whether it's a small cities grant program of over $800,000, whether it's an urban self-help grant, whether it was PWED grants for downtown. Those are made public. There's a public hearing on everything before we spend one penny, because it's required. We seek public input. We don't get very much of it, but we advertise it in the newspaper, and we seek it. We're not getting it. Dick, you're chairman of the Community Development Committee. You haven't had a meeting in 2 years, and yet you say we're not transparent about our spending. And yet $800,000 spent on all parts of our community, whether it be streets, whether it be housing, whether it be for demolition. Those things are there. Nobody shows up at these public hearings. I take that back. Steve Green shows up every year for 26 years. Steve Green has been the only one that shows up. So.
Councilor?
Thank you. The question was, I think, pretty much about budget transparency, and I just want to, have been on the Finance Committee for 8 years, and I've come to understand the basic document of the budget. However, there really isn't an open process with respect to the budget. The budget is delivered to the City Council. The City Council Finance Committee meets on it typically for one afternoon, maybe 2 afternoons, and to review the school budget at the same time. What I propose to bring back is an open budget process that they used to have years ago, whereby the Finance Committee of the City Council met with the mayor and department heads on through the budget season, we'll say, between April and the end of June, or between May and June, and went through the budget process and a line-by-line review of that budget process with the City Council Finance Committee and the department heads and the mayor. What we see is a very rudimentary budget that basically gives us totals of departments, totals for salaries, and those sorts of things. And while, I'll admit, I haven't questioned that budget much because, getting it for 8 years, year after year, it continues to look, it's a very easy document to follow. But I think from the public's perspective, we need to make that process open and transparent. And the other side of the budget is we never see a revenue side. Thank you.
To explain the budget, once I give it to the City Council, it is their document. Dick, you've been chairman of that committee. If you want to have 48 hearings or 1 hearing, that's your decision. It's not the job of mayor. So you've had a chance to make that document transparent. You've had a chance to schedule the meetings and move them around. You haven't done it. I do my job in the executive branch, presenting it to the City Council. It is your job to schedule meetings, whether it takes 1 day or 20 days.